So very good evening to one and all, and again warm welcome in this particular course of Java once again, and I welcome all of you once again in this course. And today we will see the second part of your data type. And before starting all these things, I hope that I cleared my first. I cleared all the concept of my first video of your data type, and hopefully you all are go through with that particular data type part one video, so that you can feel comfortable with this video. If you are not see that video, please go through that video first. That's why you have get a basic idea regarding to the data type, what the data type is, how many data types we have, and what are the different categorization of data type inside the Java. So if we talk about your first, if we talk about what are the different data type in the Java, so we broadly classified the data type into the two broad category. The first one is primitive and next one is non-primitive. As we already see the things, what is the non-primitive data type? So the non-primitive data type are those which are further derived with the help of your primitive data types, like array, like your some user-defined classes. So all these are come under the umbrella of your non-primitive data types. If we talk about your primitive data types, it's further classified into the two category. But before that, primitive data types are those data types which actually comes with your compiler or with your interpreter. So these are the data types which we see with your compiler. So in the primitive data type, we further classified into the two broad category. First one numeric, next one is non-numeric. If we talk about non-numeric, then we have your Boolean and your char. Boolean and char are come under your non-numeric data or non-numeric data types, not data types. If we talk about your numeric data type, it further classified into the two category. First one is one in which we are not supposed to store the your decimal values, like we only supposed to store the integral values or non-decimal values, like your 10, like your 20, like 1, 2, 3, like this. So all these are come under the category of your integral data, in which we don't suppose to store the decimal or the fractional part or the fractional values. Clear? So these are come into your integral part. In that we have your byte, we have your int, byte, short, int, and long. Clear? So all these are allowed to store your particular integral part, and it's supposed to store the non-fractional values. Now if we talk about your non-integral part, in the non-integral part in the non-integral part, we supposed to store your fractional values. Fractional means like decimal values, like 2.5, 10.5, 15.2, like all these values we supposed to store in your non-integral part. So in the non-integral or in the flow, in that we have two type of data type. That first one is your float data type, and next one is your double data type. So all these are required to store inside your non-integral part. So these are the two basic categories of your numeric data type. And these are some points that we was discussed in my previous video or in our previous video. So let's begin with the today's session. So these are the agenda for the today's session. First one is the prerequisites for the today's session. That is a prerequisite for data type part 2. Then step to run the first Java program. The question is why I incorporate this point over here. Reason is because from now today onwards, we require some small codes to execute. So I think that this is the better place to introduce the first program of Java. And I just give a small glimpse regarding to the first program. I give a basic idea to all of you, how we can how we what are the things that we are kept in the mind before going into the detail, like how we can save our file, where we supposed to save our file, what are the things that we must kept in the mind before executing a Java program. So all these things, small things, I just want to raise over there. See the first program inside the Java, how it's look like, what are the some things that we always kept in our mind before running your first Java program. Then we see the first data type, or the first data type of this journey, that is your byte. And last one, we have some references. So we supposed to cover all these things in the today's sessions. So let's begin the today's lecture. So these are the things that I suppose to you all have go through all these things. Let's say I suppose that you all go through with my identifier lectures. I suppose that you have completed my reserve word lectures also. Even I suppose that you also completed my data type part 1 videos. Clear? If you go through all these things, then this lecture is definitely becomes a journey or joyful journey for all of you, and definitely you enjoy this journey of data types. Clear? Let's begin the things. So what are the steps to run the first program? I'm not starting with your first program. I'm just very much purely interested how we can execute your first program. Just we begin with these things, how we can execute the first program, then we can see what is your first program. Means I first actually introduce your what are the steps to run the first program in the Java. So let's begin the steps to execute your first program in the Java. So what are the steps? Just go through it. Code for any given problem means definitely you must have some code. For that you must write the code. Next one, save the file by the .java extension. See, the important thing is your file is of having your .java extension. Next, what we have, open the command prompt, means we require to execute your file. After that, we supposed to write the command java c. Java c stands for Java compiler followed by the file name. After that, we get the class file is get generated, that is stored at the given place. And after, in the last one, the last line is Java. Java is here for the interpreter and name of the class file. Clear? Don't suppose to give like say like if the name of our class file is your one or test dot class. So we just simply write Java test. So let's just see these things practically. So for that, I just see display some important point over here. So first, what we require to code the program. So I just display what is my program is. So this is my program is. This actually my program is. This is your first program class test, and here this is actually the comment. This is actually the comment we are supposed to. So if the compiler see these two lines, then definitely all the things after that line is not encoded, is not compiled by the line. This is the single line comment. This is actually what, this is your single line comment, and this is your multi-line comment. What it means that if we start with this slash and followed by the star, then the compiler is supposed to find this thing, means this star follows by this slash. So all the thing that is kept in between this, means all these line, all these things are supposed to be commented, means these lines are not compiled, not executed by your Java compiler and interpreter. Clear? Everyone clear with this thing? So this is my first program. So if you can see that I'm not using any ID. There are number of ID that are present in the market today. Like for example, Glassfish. Like for example, Eclipse. Like for example, NetBeans. There are n number of IDs there, but I'm not supposed to use your any ID over here. Reason is very clear, because for the beginners it's suggested or it is recommended that you should start with your notepad, and you must clear with all and your all and every steps that is required to code. You must able to find out or debug your errors. So all these things are required to understand in the beginning phase. If you are not supposed to work with your notepad, then so many things are maybe you are not able to see. So it's my suggestion and recommendations that do not use any ID in the beginning. But as you are familiar, and when you are actually working in some company, definitely you work with your ID. Actually, working on ID and learning Java, two different things are there, because Java is definitely required your very hard works and very high considerations. And on the other hand, IDE is what? IDE is your integrated development environment, which is a complete software. And for learn that, you must devote some time, you must dedicatedly provide some time over here. So at the same time, it's not possible to travel on the two different boats. So make sure that you first learn the concept of Java, then afterwards you can switch towards the IDE. That is the better way to get started with the Java. At least you become familiar with the code of Java, then you can suppose to work with some IDE. Clear? So I hope so up to this point, there will be no doubt. Next important thing, use capable to see what's the name of my file. CS306 data type 28 July 2020.java means the file name is this, and it's saved by the .java extension. So this is my first point. Code your any problem. So here I'm not coding anything, I'm just writing a small code in which I just want to print the hello. I just want to print the hello. We also do some basic operation over all these things. So this is the first part. I already describe one thing in my video, in which I explain the steps of installation Java and to set the path. So today, one more thing I just want to share with all of you, that how we supposed to set the class path and what is the class path is. So just open your command prompt. So this is your command prompt. If you see, to check the path, I actually set the path by according to your permanent method. So you can see this is my bin folder, Java JDK, or before that, C, inside that program file. Okay, I do one thing, I mark this thing, I mark all these things so that you can easily see the things. I mark it over here. Okay, and you see over here, this is your C program file, and inside that you have Java JDK 1.7 and bin over here. Clear? And if I just want to check what is my class path, so class path is not okay. Here I'm not supposed to show your class path, but yes, we set the class path on the same way in your environment variables. Clear? So what is the next step? The next step is just, okay, I just clear the screen for all of you. So I just write CLC. Okay, one more thing, you just see inside that I put the entire path of my particular place where I supposed to store my file. So the path is in the D drive. I supposed to store the file in desktop backup till 2020 April 2002. Inside that we have LMS and ITM work, July to December 2022, subject another folder, Java and program. So inside that I store my programs. So here one important doubt. So many of you have this doubt, sir, is it required to store the program or your code inside your bin folder, just like in your C or C++? We supposed to store not inside that your C++ also. It is not mandatory. We can change the path also, but by default, it is just that it's stored inside your bin. Here also, some of the programmer or some of the people are so much comfortable to store the program in the bin folder of your JDK. But it's my suggestion as well as the recommendation to all of you, don't save your program inside your bin folder. Why? Because if you save the program inside your bin folder, definitely may be possible that you can in mistake or by mistake, you can, if you can edit some important your basic class files, or maybe possible you can maybe possibility that you may delete some files mistakenly also. So to avoid all these things, all these accidents, you should store your files or .java files in the separate folder. I hope so I clear with my words. So now if we talk about your how to run a program. So for run the program, we have two steps. First one, compile the program. So for compilation, we write Java C. Okay, see one thing here, I just write these things on reaching to this respective path. Why I require to do this? Because I want to just fetch the data easily from the respective folder. So Java C, then the class name is C. I'm not writing the complete C and press the tab so that we can find out easily the respective files name. There are maybe possible number of files name, but Today we only have this particular file name. Clear? So I just compile this and enter. So now you can see you don't got any error. Definitely your program gets successfully executed. Next step is Java, then the file name. So the file name is your test.class. Okay, this is another very important point that I make over here. Answer is 127 because I just write some other program over here. I just come to that thing that some of the programmer or some of the coders say that your class name and your file name should be same. Means I remember these things. This is your actually the class name where your main program is resided, because we have, if you just see, okay, I just come again to my code. That's why you can easily understand my words. See here, the class name is your test. Here the class name is what? Test. Clear? So now the class name is test, and one thing I do one thing. Okay, I public I comment all these things. Okay, and what is the file name? This is my file name. See, the class name and my file name is not same. Both are different, and it proved that it is not mandatory that your class name and your file name is same. No, it's not mandatory. Reason why some of the programmers is recommended to save your file with the class name, because it is easy to remember the name of the class in which your main is resided, so this is the main background. Why should some of the people is suggested to save the file with the class name? Because they can remember with the help of that particular file name. Because anyhow you should remember your file name in which or to which you should require to execute your code or execute your respective program, for which not to it. And here one point I just mentioned that this class, if we have number of classes over there, maybe this question may someone ask, sir, if we have test 1, test 2, test 3 and test 10 classes in our program, so in by which name our test classes get is big is executed, not executed, or we can say that by which name of the your test class is become visible to all us. So the answer is actually the particular class, or actually that particular class in which main is resided, that is your class, that is your test class name. Here the main is resided into the test, that's why the my class name is test dot class. Okay, I just also share one thing with all of you, that let's say this is my folder where I actually store this file. I do one thing, I delete this test dot class. This is my bytecode, so I delete this one. I delete this thing, test dot class from here, and do one thing. I recompile my code. So I for recompile my code, I again go for my command prompt. I recompile my code. So this is my code. I recompile it, and I'm not running it. You just first see whether we get the test file or not. So for that I reach again to my folder, and just a minute. Okay, I recompile again my file. So I recompile my file over here, Java C and this, and recompile this, and again I try to run the test file. Okay, test file is not because not main classes test. You could not find a load main class test because test class is not executed over here. Okay, so I just see what the issue over here. I make sure over here how we can execute that. So for that I do one thing, I make changes. Okay, for that I just share this particular file with all of you. So I just share this thing, and then I save this. First I save this particular file, so they save this file, and then I again go to execute my program. So for that I again go for my command prompt, and when I reach to my command prompt, I again Java C and my folder over here, see this, and let's see whether we got that particular test file or not. Yes, we definitely, yes, see the test.class is now get there. So we get this at this particular time. So now again we go to our command prompt, and when we go to our command prompt, just type Java and your test file name. So do not require to provide this your extension. See, this hello is there. So this is the basic steps to execute your program. I repeat once again. First Java C, then your file name. So your file name is this, my file name is this. So I just give your .java, enter. So if you don't have any error, so your bytecode is get generated. After bytecode, just give your Java interpreter and pass your respective class file. So my class file is your test.class. So I mention the name of my class file, and this is your first program. I hope so I clear with my each and every point how your first program is get executed. I'm not taking what are inside your first program. I'm just taking how your first program is get executed is come into this. Clear? So this is all about your first program. Now we come to the points, some points that is required to discuss regarding to your first program. So let's again go to your slides. So here, if you see over here, your first program, just a minute. So if you see over here, this is your first program. This is your first program that is written over here in the in the notepad also. So this is your class test. This is your class test. Inside that class test, we have this particular public static void main string args, and here we have system.out.println hello. So if you see, this is your entire class, means a first program or a basic program in which we supposed to just print the hello. It is not, it is not working without this class. Means if you just want to print a single statement, still you require to use a class, still you require to use a class. Means without the class, you're not supposed to work with a single line, work with a single line. So this is the main important point that I make sure over here, that without class we are not supposed to work with any single line, with not a single line. Clear? Now here, if we talk about this test, what this test is, this is the name of our class. Now we just do a operation over these some words: public, static, void, main, string, args, and this. Then we go for the system out dot println. In the place of println, we can also suppose to use the print. So I also make the difference, verbal difference between your println and print, and what this hello is. So let's begin with this. So if you see public is what? If we mention the public over here, we make our program, because this is what, this is access specifier, and access specifier for what? For your main. Access specifier for your main. If we make the main as the public, definitely we allow to everyone, or we allow to access this particular main function from anywhere. Clear? Next one is your static. Why we should be required the static? Okay, one question with all the students that are present in this class. So that the question is, did we make any object of this particular class? How we can access the object? Object can be accessed, object could be accessed either with the help of the instance of the class, or with the help of the class name. Can we can Is it when we compile our code, can we should we or could we call the main function? No, we could not call the main function. It is automatically called. So how it is automatically called? Because static does not require any object. If we declare any method as the static, we are not supposed to require any object to access that particular method. So this is the beauty of our Java, that in the main, for the main, we do not require to any kind of your objects. Clear? What next one is your void. So what the void is, actually this void v is small, due to that your backend working of your English, you can see that English supportive tools, they do in back, they just make the first word as capital every time, and due to some mistake it becomes the void. I make it thoughtfully small v, but when I just enter, it becomes the capital V by your word. Clear? So what this void is representing? Void is representing over here the return type of the main. And in the programming, void is actually used to represent that your function or your particular method is not supposed to return anything. Void means nothing. Your function is not returning anything. What this mean is, main is the name of your function. It is a very, very important name of your function, because it is it is fixed, or it is concluded by your by your Sun Microsystems or by the set by the different peoples of the organization, that the class, or we can say that the method whose name is main is execute first. The method whose name is main is execute first in all the methods or in all the function that is present inside your program. Clear everyone? Now the next thing is string args. So this particular thing is your argument, and actually this is inside your method, so definitely these are the parameters. And the basic purpose of this is to take the command line argument. This string is what? This is the already predefined class of the Java. Args is a variable, or args is a array type variable of type string. First I just repeat the things. What is args? Args is a variable. Args is a variable, or args is an array variable of type string. Args is an array variable of type strings. Now come to this system.out.println. So what the system is? System is a class present in java.lang. System is what? System, here I'm just talking about 1 2 3, these three words. So system is what? System is your class present in your java.lang package. And what is out? Out is a static variable present in the system class of your type print stream, present in the system class of type print streams. Next one, what is println? Println is a method present in the print stream. Println is a method present in the print stream. Clear everyone? So these are these in the place of println. Okay, one more thing I just want to raise over here. One function is print. So what is the difference between print and println? Actually print is just used to print the output in the single line, whereas println is also used to print the output in a line, but after printing the output, its cursor is moved towards the next line. Actually you can just see that your in your, if you compare your C++, then C out and backslash n means you should go to the next line. So this is the main difference between your print and println. I hope so I clear with my words. Clear? So now we start with your byte, the first data type. So byte byte size is 1 byte, means 8 bits. The maximum value that we stored inside the byte is your 127 plus 127, means actually this is the signed in nature. Why we call it signed? Because either we also supposed to store the positive value, or we also supposed to store the negative value. Clear? And the range is from -128 to 127. How we get the 127? Because we say that this is your 8 bit, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and this last one is for your sign, means if it is your 0, then it is positive. It is 1, then it is negative. Then let's begin this. This is 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, 2 3 4 5 6. So add all these things and we got what? 127. We got what? 127. That's why the range is from -128 to 127. How we get the -128? Because normally in the memory it is represented by +1, and the -1 is represented by here the 1. Clear? So negative is represented by the 2's complement in the memory. Clear to everyone? So this is the important point that I make over here, and this is 127 that I got with the help of this combination: 2 to the power 6, then 2 to the power 5, 2 to the power 4, 2 to the 3, 2, 1, 0. When we add all these things, we get the 127. Okay, one more point I just want to make difference over here: range and size. So what is the difference between range and size? Let's take a journal example. It's very easy. If we talk about the range, let's say I visit to some particular shop of clothes, like I just visit my Peter England shop. So in that shop, I finalize with some shirt. Clear? And the size of that shirt is, for me it is 40 or 42. Clear? So for me it is 42. Definitely that is my size. And when I see their price, what is their price? Let's say its price is 1500, and I just check my pocket whether I have 1500 rupees or not. If I have the 1500 rupees, then I go for the salesman and say, sir, kindly pack this, I just want to buy this. Clear? So So that particular thing is dependent on my range, and range is my according to my pocket. Clear? So I just try to correlate the things. It is not exactly that thing. Size is something which is used to cap the things, and range is something in which range we can vary. It is not, if I have 1500 rupees in my pocket, is it necessary that we can purchase the shirt of 1500? No. I could purchase a shirt of 100 1000 rupees or 500 rupees or 800 rupees. It is up to us what kind of shirt that I final. Similarly, we can have the range to store the values from minus 128 to 120. In between this, we can store any values, any values. And what is the size of my particular one byte is? That is your 8. Clear to everyone? So this is just the introduction of the byte. In the next video, we see some these important points, whether these are applicable over in the byte or not. So these are the some points which we see practically. So thank you for listening me for this videos, and for this I just refer these references. If you have any doubt, any issues, you just message me, you just drop a message to me. Thank you for the patience listening, and we will meet in the next video, in which we just explore much about the byte. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone.